Hey guys, what is going on? Like I mean, 123 are back to another video, and welcome to another top 10 video, where today in this episode, I'll be counting down my top 10 favorite The Legend of Korra moments. So without further ado, let's get into it. At number 10, we have meeting Korra, and this happened in the first part of episode 1, where we actually get introduced to Korra, who is the next avatar. I thought it was definitely really funny because a couple of White Lotus members actually came over to Korra's mum and dad's house to actually inspect if she was the next avatar. And to their surprise, she was the next avatar because she smashes down a wall and says, "I'm the avatar, you gotta deal with it." I thought it was really funny how she actually said that because she's really sort of excited to be the avatar, and it's also her sort of dream to be the avatar. So I thought it was definitely really cool. And just to see how she did control each of the three elements, water, fire, and earth, I thought it was definitely really cool. Just how much control she actually did have over the elements at such a young age. And to their surprise, she was definitely a pretty cool avatar because she could very easily control each element, and she was definitely really passionate to actually be the avatar. And then I really liked the cutscene of her as a sort of young child and then into a young adult, training with some like firebenders and being watched by the White Lotus members and then also Katara. I thought it was definitely really cool and a great start to the series. At number 9, we have Korra vs Chi Blockers, and this was Korra's sort of first major fight after getting into Republic City. I thought it was definitely really cool how we got reintroduced to Chi Blockers because the only Chi Blocker we know of from Avatar The Last Airbender is Ty Lee, and to get more of them in the Legend of Korra, like a whole sort of secret society of them, like they train them in like sort of secret buildings and all that, was definitely really cool. And to see actually Korra struggle against the Chi Blockers was definitely quite interesting to actually see that, because the Chi Blockers have some pretty good acrobatic skills, and if they get close to your arms or like legs, they can easily sort of Chi block you, which was definitely really cool. I also really like just how fast the Chi blocking was. It wasn't like slow and like slow motion. It like happened like really fast, which I thought was definitely really cool. But I kind of wish we got more of a backstory on like the origins of this sort of Chi blocking sort of gang, because we just get straight into it with these people who are Chi blockers. But I kind of wish we learned more about them. Like, how did they learn Chi blocking? Like, did they have to practice like loads to actually sort of master it? Did they learn from like Ty Lee or something like that? And then Aman is like the main sort of leader for the Chi blockers. So I kind of wish we maybe learned a bit more about that. Like, did Aman teach them Chi blocking and like all the acrobatic skills? Just a bit more of a backstory would have been really nice to actually see. But apart from that, I really did enjoy this scene. At number 8, we have the Spirit World, and this happened in Season 2 of The Legend of Korra, when Korra had to go to the Spirit World to actually stop harmonic conversions, but the only way to get there was with help from Junora, who is Tenzin's oldest daughter. I thought it was definitely really cool with like the whole part there, and just to see the Spirit World once again was definitely really cool. I love how colourful it was, and like how sort of playful it was with all the sort of spirit animals being there. What I really liked though was we got reintroduced to Iroh, and I really liked his advice and wisdom he actually gave to sort of young child Korra, because when she actually does get lost, Korra, she actually sort of de-ages a bit because like she's worried and sort of scared in a way because it's a new sort of place she's at, and like she becomes a young child again because of all those reasons. I thought it was definitely really cool, and there's also a couple of other reasons, but I thought it was definitely cool how she once again became a child, and once she actually did overcome those sort of fears and all that, she once again became a young adult. I also really liked how we got to see a bit more of a different side of the spirit world, instead of just seeing like the same sort of section Aang actually saw in Avatar The Last Airbender. They actually expand that and have this really cool and colourful place for the spirits, instead of just having that small sort of chunk. I also really liked how we had light and dark, like darkness creeping around and all that. I thought it was definitely really cool. I also really liked how over like this sort of massive mountain, when Korra actually climbed over it, or like walked up it, you actually saw like this really cool sort of tree of time, which had pretty much all the memories of a sort of individual in that one part of the tree, and then also the 2 points, the southern and northern poles with their sort of spirit sort of beams. I thought it was definitely really cool to actually see that, and just to see a different section of the spirit world altogether. At number 7, we have Korra vs Tarlock, and this happened when Korra went to confront Tarlock after learning a bit about him and like who he actually is. She didn't learn too much about him, but just a sort of really small chunk about who he actually is. So she decides to actually confront him because Tarlock is like one of the people on the sort of councilmen who actually help the sort of Republic City and all that when crises actually happen. So Korra does confront him, and they have this really cool fight because like there's this waterfall where Tarlock actually does sit, and like it's a sort of feature in his office, and like he actually begins to actually fight Korra with it. And then I really liked how Korra actually used the water as well. I also really liked how Korra was like dodging like some sort of crystal like sort of a sphere. Really confusing what they actually were, but it was definitely really cool how she like almost in slow-mo punched them, dodged them. Definitely really cool. And then I liked how she didn't like dodge all of them, like just showing her skills off. Like she didn't want to be like cocky and all that. I really liked how they didn't actually do that. They actually made it like she actually got sliced by one instead of just dodging all of them. And then like she used the water against Tarlock, like sort of smashed the wall, and then Tarlock went flying. But the most surprising part was when he actually began to bloodbend. We only got introduced to that in, I believe, season 3 of Avatar The Last Airbender, when Hama like told her backstory on bloodbending and all that, and like how she actually did bloodbending. And then to see Tarlock actually do it was definitely pretty shocking to actually see that, but it was really cool. But not cool to actually hear the sound, because that sound is not creepy, but sort of like spine tingling and all that. And to Korra's shock to actually see Tarlock actually do bloodbending was definitely quite interesting to actually see that. She was pretty shocked. And then after like he knocks out sort of Korra by doing bloodbending for quite a while on her, he actually does kidnap her and like take her to some sort of like remote location on like top of a mountain, so then no one can actually get to her. So I really liked how like then he decides to think of a plan, because like the place they were at, it was like destroyed. There was like stuff everywhere, a massive hole. So he actually thinks of a really interesting idea that like the chi blockers came and all of that, like he planted evidence. I really liked how he's actually thinking ahead, and it just shows that like he's quite actually intelligent in a way, and like he can very easily think of like backup plans, and he's definitely a really good liar, because they actually did believe him for like some part, but then they actually did learn the truth. And number 6, we have Back to the Beginnings, and we actually get to see this when Korra is attacked by a spirit in the water after trying to escape from 2 of the twins. I believe one of them is named Desna, and I can't actually remember the other one, but apart from that, she actually does get attacked by the spirit, and then like she washes up on like some sort of temple-like island, and then like some people actually pick her up and take her to like the sort of chieftain, or like chief, what's a female chieftain? It's just, I'm not 100% sure, but they like take it to like the leader, and like they go into like this section, and they slowly lower it down into like this sort of spiritual water, and then we actually get to see like some of her past lives with like a really nice sort of color to them, and then like we actually get to see the story of the first Avatar, which was Wan, I believe his name is. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I really did enjoy the animation style with this. I really like the sort of almost like cartoonish sort of realistic feel it did have. I really like the style of it, and I really did enjoy the story about learning about the first Avatar, how he became the Avatar, how he like changed the sort of course of the world, how he trapped Vaatu, the evil spirit, with like the ball and like the fire, water, air, and earth in the tree of time. A lot of definitely happened in that, and I'm really glad they actually did it in 2 parts, first part and second part, because I feel like if they were to do it in one part, it'd be like really rushed and all that. So I'm really glad they actually put the time and effort into actually making 2 parts. And I really liked how one, the character, he started off okay, and like he wanted to steal and sort of like help other people in a way, but then like he actually begins to actually help spirits and all that. He has a lot of really nice friends with the spirits. Like he begins to learn each element with the help of the light spirit, I believe. I forgot its name. Shoot, I forgot her name. And like because he accidentally cuts him one day, the good and the bad spirit, because they're the only two what like have a battle every, I believe, 1,000 years to actually decide the fate of the earth. And when Wong actually cut them apart, like Vatu escaped, and then the good spirit, she actually began to shrink because like darkness thrived over her. So it was definitely really interesting to actually see that. And then one actually learning each element with the help of the good spirit and like teaching the ways and all that type of stuff. And then to see the Avatar state for the first time was definitely really cool. I thought it was definitely great. And to actually see one struggle, because like once the good spirit actually enters his body, he actually has like a rush of power, and if she stays in his body for too long, then like I believe he might like die, because like he was sort of like shaking and shriveling and all that type of stuff. So I thought it was definitely interesting to see that. But then while on harmonic conversions, when like the two sort of parts connected with one another, one actually touched like the sort of spirit portal, and then the good spirit and him actually combined powers together, and now they are together forever. And then like if one was to die, then the good spirit would go on to somebody else, and that's how the Avatar cycle actually sort of began. And number 5, we have Aman vs Korra and Marco, and this happened in the season finale of season 1, and this is when Korra and Marco actually learn the truth about Aman, who he actually is, and like the whole backstory on him, because Tarlock was actually locked up, and Korra and Marco found him, and he told like the whole backstory about him, his brother, like their father. It was definitely really interesting and pretty sort of shocking to actually learn the truth about Aman. Begin with a fight. It actually begins with Marco and Korra actually trying to run away from Aman because they don't want to get bloodbended by him or get their sort of elemental powers taken away. So they go into this room and like they quickly hide under a table, and like my heart actually begins to like sort of race, because like it's quite a sort of scary moment, because they don't want to get bloodbended, and like Aman is like right sort of next to him, because like you hear him like walking around and all that type of stuff, and like while they're under the table, and then Aman like drags them from under the table and begins to bloodbend him. Like just the sound of it, and like Korra and Marco like doing the sound of like pain was definitely quite spine tingling. And then like one of Amon's sort of trusted henchmen actually does come and says, were they telling the truth and all that? Like, are you actually a bloodbender? So I thought it was definitely really interesting how like Amon's sort of most trusted follower like began to like sort of turn on him after learning the truth. And then like Aman, I believe like bloodbends him away, or like throws him away. I thought that was definitely quite interesting. But then Marco like is on the ground, and like Amon's about to take his bending away, but then he like shoots him, Amon, with his lightning. I thought it was definitely really cool to actually see that. And then Marco actually does pick up Korra, and like they're slowly running away, and like I'm like, huh, it's over. But then like they get dragged back from each other, and like Amon comes, and I believe he says like it's a shame to take someone's powers away, something along the lines of that. I thought it was definitely quite interesting to actually see that, because no one has actually gotten that sort of close and like achieved that sort of level of sort of power against Amon. So I thought it was definitely really cool to actually see that. And like as he's about to take Marco's powers away, Korra like sort of gets up and shoots him with airbending. It was definitely great and such a relief to see that she finally actually learned airbending. And then like she continues to do it, but then Amon sort of resists and like he begins to bloodbend Korra, but then she resists that and says, "No, you don't," and kicks him out the window, and like he falls into like water. Like there's a bunch of rubble from like the window, and like he falls in the water, and then like the sort of citizens around that part say, "Look what Korra did," or like what the Avatar did. But then like Aman sort of like not wakes up, but like he realizes he's sort of drowning, and quickly sort of spins out of the water using waterbending. But then the people actually learn that he was a waterbender, and he didn't actually have a scar on him at all. At number 4, we have the giant mecha battle, and this happened in the season finale of season 4 because Korra has this sort of massive mech giant thing, and you can't actually metal bend it or actually earth bend because it's sort of made out of a material what you can't actually like sort of metal bend or earth bend, and like Korra can easily control it from sort of the head part of it, like she can very easily move around with it, control the gun, because I believe it's controlled by like metal bending. I also really liked how the sort of odds were against the good guys actually winning, because usually the good guys have a good chance against something sort of similar to this, and like different chances like that, but like it seemed like the good guys weren't actually going to win, or like Team Avatar weren't going to win this one, because this thing was pretty sort of invincible to actually try to destroy. But I really liked how they actually did try their hardest to destroy it. They like smashed down buildings, they like airbended it. A lot of stuff really did happen in this battle, and I really liked how Team Avatar like didn't just give up on the first try and say, "We can't destroy it, we're just going to give up and let Korra win." I really liked how they were like resilient, they kept fighting on, and then I really liked how like they had these sort of like hummingbird thingies where like they were the only things what could actually get into the mech by cutting a hole in it. While Asami, her dad, and then Varric and Julie were in the hummingbirds, Team Avatar alongside Tenzin, his children, Lin, Sue, and then also her children, were trying to distract the mech to make sure that the sort of hummingbirds could actually do their job and actually like cut a hole in it. But that didn't actually work because I believe Varric and Julie hummingbird actually did get destroyed, but they quickly got out of it, like pulling a trigger, like their seats flied out. And then Asami and her dad actually got to like the bottom thigh, and they actually began to cut a hole in it. Team Avatar and then also the others were still distracting the mech, but Korra actually like sort of saw the hummingbird on the leg, or like the bottom part of the leg, and actually began to like sort of close her hand onto her, like the arm. And then as they finished cutting the hole, Asami's dad actually shot her out of like the sort of hummingbird mech, and then like the hand crushed Asami's dad. It was definitely really sad to actually see that he sacrificed himself to actually help Team Avatar and everybody else, because in the first season we actually see that Asami's dad is actually working for like the bad guys, creating different things and all that type of stuff, and then he actually does get sent to jail, but then they actually recruit him in season 4 to actually help them. I really like this really quick moment, but it was definitely really nice to actually see that Asami actually did forgive her father, because he actually did help Team Avatar and everybody else to destroy the mech from the inside. And then also he had a really small sort of a really small sort of redemption arc, because he did sacrifice himself for the good guys. So I thought it was definitely really nice to actually see that. And then Team Avatar alongside Lin and Sue actually went inside of the mech and did destroy it from the inside. And then the battle Korra and Korra had on like the head part of the mech was definitely really cool as well. At number 3, we have Tenzin Vs Zaheer, and this were two pretty skilled, well, like very skilled airbenders against one another. It was definitely really cool to see all the moves they did against one another, shooting air at one another, all the sort of acrobatic moves they were doing. It was definitely a really pretty awesome battle between these two very skilled airbenders, but I kind of wish Tenzin actually bet Zaheer, because he's a lot more sort of skilled and all that type of stuff as an airbender, because he did learn from Aang, as Zahir was dodging and all that. It was pretty cool to actually see that and like sort of some slow-mo parts, but I kind of wish Zahir wasn't as skilled as Tenzin because like he's been, I believe, in like the jail cell for like a pretty long time, and like he didn't actually get airbending. He only got it when harmonic convergence happened, and he's pretty skilled after that. Like he can easily do it, like with the whole acrobatics moves. I kind of wish he wasn't like this good at doing it because he's only had it for not like a really long time as much as Tenzin has had it because Tenzin was born with it. But it was definitely a really great battle to actually see these two face off. But I can definitely say that Tenzin would very easily like take down Zahir, but Zahir actually did get some help by his friends to actually take down Tenzin. But if it was just those two on one, I reckon Tenzin could very easily kick his butt or like airbend his butt. And number 2, we have the Dark Avatar battle, and this happened when Korra's uncle and Vaatu actually combined to one another, and they actually did create the Dark Avatar. A lot of very similar rules to the actual good Avatar, like he could very easily like create another Avatar and all that type of stuff. But then Korra actually did lose the good spirit inside of her, what actually had the Avatar in her, like she couldn't do her past lives and all that, because her uncle actually did destroy it, so that was quite emotional to actually see that. But then Korra actually does go in the Tree of Time, and she becomes this really cool sort of like giant blue spirit type thing. It was definitely really cool to actually see that. And then the battle they actually did have together in Republic City in like the ocean was definitely really cool because every time they attacked one another, like the ocean would like sort of happen and all that. It would like sort of spurt out and all that. Definitely really cool to actually see that. A lot of great moves as well as like giants. I really did enjoy the battle they did have together. And then when Jinora did come with like this sort of blue, no, not blue, but like sort of golden light on her, that was quite interesting to actually see that. I didn't actually expect that, but then it was really cool to actually see that the Dark Avatar had like this sort of golden part inside of the body, and that was the only way to actually destroy it. And then Korra did do like this sort of spirit move, what her uncle actually did to actually defeat sort of dark spirits and actually release them out into the air. So that was quite interesting how she actually did do that. But then also not quite sad. It was a little sad to actually see that she did it to her uncle, but he probably does deserve it after everything he did do. And number 1, we have Korra vs Zahir. This was definitely one of my favorite battles of The Legend of Korra because the only way to actually get into the Avatar by force was if Zahir actually poisoned her with mercury, which is a pretty sort of serious poison. And Korra actually went into the Avatar state, and she actually did defeat all of Zahir's sort of friends. Like they were knocked out, and it was just between Zahir and Korra. She was struggling to like control the Avatar state because of like the poison, and then like the poison was like slowly killing her, so she had to very quickly defeat Zahir. A lot of really nice movements while like in and out of sort of obstacles because of like the massive rocks, boulders and all that. Really nice battle. And then I also liked how Korra was very easily in the Avatar state because she was definitely really angry because of like the poison in her body, and like she could be very sort of uncontrolled of the Avatar state as well because she did do a couple of things, but then she actually does like sort of get kicked out of the Avatar state because of the poison. Like it's really hard to control the Avatar state while being poisoned. And then Zahir actually does mention something that you can't find me and the poison, which was quite sort of sad to actually hear that from Zahir. But then as like all hope seems lost, the other airbenders who actually got their airbending from harmonic conversions alongside Jinora actually made this pretty big sort of like air sort of tornado, and then that is what Zahir got trapped in because he was trying to fly away with Korra, but then Korra like sort of almost slipped and began to fall, but then she did grab Zahir by like the chain and like sort of shove him down to the ground. That was definitely quite interesting but also really sad to actually see that, because Zahir tried so hard to actually sort of run away, not run away, but fly away, but then he didn't actually succeed, and then he does get sort of shoved to the ground, and then Korra does get kicked out of the Avatar state, I believe, or maybe she wasn't in the Avatar state, but then she is struggling to actually survive with the mercury in her, so it was definitely quite sad to actually see that. And then Zahir actually mentions that I believe it's like too late, you can't save her, but then Bolin does put a sock in it, and then Lin and Sue actually, like, I believe it's just Sue, but like metal bend the mercury out of her, and then she does not come back to life, but she sort of, it's quite hard to explain, like, she sort of comes back to life, yeah, I'll say that, she sort of does come back to life, so that was definitely quite interesting, but also really sad to actually see that, because she did go through a lot while having the mercury in her, but the battle Zahir and Korra had was definitely one of my favourite moments and battles from The Legend of Korra. So, hope you guys did enjoy this video on my top 10 favourite The Legend of Korra moments, because I really did enjoy sharing my thoughts and opinions on my favourite moments. I would definitely love to hear your favourite The Legend of Korra moments down in the comments below, and definitely expect more top 10 videos on The Legend of Korra, because hopefully I'll be doing a couple more of them. So as always guys, hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I can see you soon. Goodbye!